Song key tempo analyzer. This project file, I'll just do this. Where's the tempo track?
It's 95.
So give it a minute, it's going to take a bit. 63. So now what I can do is, so I'll delete the piano part.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good. Here I am. Okay.
Except love, always love.
My name is Tony Manfredonia, and I'm a composer and singer-songwriter based in Michigan.
I will love, always love.
I have been working in music for about 8 years now. I got started making music through my family. My mom is a music director for Catholic parishes over the years. She's still doing it. I was basically born behind the organ bench. And my dad sings and plays guitar. My siblings play music. So it's just kind of part of the family.
Oh, the crest of waves crashing every day. Anchors.
When I first started making music, I got started playing piano at a pretty young age. And through my schooling in grade school and high school, I actually fell in love with singing. It became much more of a focal point for me.
Drags you further to the news.
My final goal as a musician, as a music creator, really is to bring people closer to God. You know, I spent a good chunk of my professional life so far making music purely for the world, right? And there's nothing inherently wrong with that, especially it provides for my family, and that I'm so grateful to God for that. But moving forward, I really want to make music that can speak to even non-Christians, but still makes them think about God. And so that's my mission, whether I'm playing the organ for church, whether I'm even making soundtracks for video games. Can I still bring people closer to God? Can I still make them look up? Or even just in my albums, you know, can I accomplish that? And whether or not I succeed, you know, that's gonna be up to God and gonna be up to the listeners, but I'm gonna be trying my hardest no matter what to bring people closer to Him.
When the snow falls and a gaze starts to glisten in the moon, when a mind's eye becomes my starlight, illuminating truth. Is this what's left? A missed heartbeat I can't forget, but she gave me, yet here I stand, frozen to the bone.
Piano was really the instrument that I took hold of, and I've been playing it my whole life. I might have been maybe 7 or 8 when I first started playing piano. And then, of course, when I got hired as a music director, I had to learn how to play the organ. So I kind of learned that instrument on the job. You know, writing for the orchestra kind of became my home base, and it's still my home base now. Even in my more singer-songwriter albums, I'm still using this giant cinematic orchestra. And that wouldn't have happened if not for the journey God placed in my life.
Darling, what did you say? Do you wanna go out, or do you wanna stay? Darling, why does it hurt to pray? I can't figure out what you're feeling.
The first big album that I did was called Rosewater. Rosewater is about suffering, but it's not just like, okay, here's the difficulties we're going through. There's also a message of hope. There's also a message of, okay, even amidst the suffering, even amidst all of this, we still want to look upward. We still want to kind of look forward, right? So the last song kind of touches on, okay, even though you're going through this really tough time, like I will be here for you and God will be here for you. And so it was very therapeutic. I don't want to say I'm ashamed to say, but it feels very recent. It was actually a couple years ago. My wife and I were having a really tough time.
Darling, when will this end? I wish I had more answers. I wish it were pretend. darling, keep holding tight, 'cause there's not much I can do for you.
We decided, okay, we're at rock bottom. Let's go get prayed over. We went to our parish priest, our parish prayer team. They laid hands on us. They prayed with us. We went to go pray for discernment. And, the part that was adding tension to our marriage was I just didn't want kids. I was like, well, I just want to do this music thing. I just want to be, like the next John Williams. I wanted to be a very superficial, worldly musician. In this moment of discernment, I didn't want kids, my wife wanted kids, there was this tension. We got prayed over, and in a moment, it was like in an instant, I was like watching a picture book of my kids, of my unborn children. And it was after that moment that I was like, everything about this faith, everything about Catholicism is real. And I'm kind of sad to say that it took me that long. Like I wish I could go back and turn back the clock and say, the Eucharist, everything about the Catholic faith is so real.
Except love, always love. Even when the sun goes down, when you're on the ground and hurting, I will love, always love. Even in the worst of times, when it feels like there's no light.
It's about the marriage vows, right? It's about when things get rough, turn back to the marriage vows. I will love and honor you all the days of my life, in good times and in bad, in sickness and in health. So even while we're suffering, we're called to love. So I got started as a music director. As I mentioned, my mom, has been a music director her whole life, so I kind of knew what the job looked like. And when I moved here, just to kind of make some extra cash, to be honest, I would substitute, organ and cantor for the local parishes. And I did that for about a year when St. Mary's over in Charlevoix, the pastor there, Father Peter Wigton, he was like, we actually need a music director. I don't know if you'd be interested. So it really just kind of fell into my lap, and I feel so blessed and grateful for that because, as many of you might know, it's like you graduate college and you're like, well, what am I gonna do for income? So especially as a musician. So it was just so nice, not even a year after graduating school, that I got to just basically work for the church almost immediately. So very grateful for that. Anchored is, I would say, closes off a trilogy of releases. That's the way I like to think about it. We had Rosewater and then Lost at Sea, and then Anchored kind of is the tail end. It really is about spiritual warfare. It's really about how Satan tries to drive families apart, but how God, surrendering to God's plan, really can keep marriages together. And I use very much a testimony of my own life when I was kind of walking the wrong path and how God's intervention really saved me and saved our marriage. That's what the album is about. And it's very chronological. It literally walks you through a few days' time of when things got to be rock bottom, and how God, by the grace of God, everything changed.
What lies above the canopy, brilliant shines in tranquility.
So Confession is the first single off of my album, Anchored. And this album is really all about that defining moment for me, that moment of sort of Jesus coming into my mind's eye saying, like, this is the plan I have for you.
Lord, I don't know which way I am going. Lord, it feels like I'm lost out on the ocean. Lord, I know that everything I did was wrong, and now it feels like one more minute and she's gone.
The approach, especially to confession, was I wanted it to feel like a prayer, right? Because the first half of Anchored, the whole album kind of dives into spiritual warfare, right? Like Satan trying to kind of break the family apart. So the first half is actually about sort of that Satan's game, so to speak, him trying to kind of put a knife between me and my wife. And so confession kind of kicks off the second half, which is more about the salvation, the redemption, the, kind of turning to God and God keeping the marriage and healing the marriage and keeping us together. So I really wanted that moment, that pivotal point in the album to be a prayer, right? So Lord, I don't know which way I'm going, Lord, it feels like I'm lost, like out on the ocean. So I didn't want it to be this huge like verses and chorus and stuff. I really just want it to be relatively intimate, kind of just, I want this to be a prayer.
When the snow falls and her gaze starts to glisten in the moon, when her mind's eye becomes my starlight, illuminated truth. Is this what's left? A missed heartbeat. I can't forget what she gave me, yet here I stand, frozen to the bone. And I'm frozen, and I'm frozen, and I'm frozen. Lord, break me through.
Ideas will come to me maybe in the shower or out on a walk or something, but when it comes down to it, I find that if I'm very routine and just, okay, these are the hours that I write throughout the week, I show up, I go in the studio, got my coffee or whatever, and it's almost like a habit, right? It's almost like the ideas just kind of come because I do it every day, So where I do most of my active writing is in my home studio.
I'm letting go. I'm letting go.
Visions from God really is the climax of Anchored, the album. It really is the moment that changed my life. Truly, it changed my life, it saved my marriage. Visions from God is a almost true to picture kind of recapitulation of the moment that we got prayed over. Even the music video, I got some of the same people who prayed over me and prayed over my wife to come there for the music video. And it's all about letting go. In fact, I wanted this song to be simple but complex, right? So the lyrics are simple, but I also wanted this gigantic sound to kind of recreate the power of God, right? So I needed a full symphony orchestra in order to make this thing happen.
I see children. You've shown me children. I see my children, my unborn children.
Love and Be Merciful is actually an instrumental interlude, right? So I mentioned kind of this first half of Anchored being about spiritual warfare and the second half being about redemption. Love and Be Merciful kicks off the second half, and it actually incorporates some speeches from Fulton Sheen, Bishop Fulton Sheen. It's almost like watching a film score in a way, or listening to a film score when there's this music kind of undertone and you have Fulton Sheen kind of talking about love and talking about marriage. His talks back in the 60s were just, they still feel so relevant to today. And so this whole approach is very concept album-ish, where it really tells this chronological story. So Love and Be Merciful is almost this big symphonic interlude incorporating Fulton Sheen's dialogue. So Lost at Sea is really a reflection on grief. When my wife tragically lost her father, I didn't really know where to go or where to put it, right? Because it was an interesting dynamic, right? I was experiencing my wife as she was processing this, and then I was kind of trying to process it of my own, because he became kind of like a dad to me, you know? And so coming out of Rosewater, so there was already this album about suffering. It almost felt like an extension of that, but in a different light, you know, because grief is its own entity. Grief is its own process.
Lost at sea, wishing you could be coming back home with a smile. Even with support, you're floating back and forth, swimming mile after mile. And now it's gravity's turn, and God's to heal every burn. And now we reach for the stern of this ship we found, this ship we found.
When someone passes away, we don't know for sure until we ourselves, you know, make our way to heaven. We don't know where they are, right? So Lost at Sea is very much about God's in control. No matter where we are, we can grab onto the stern of the ship that is God, that He is in control, and we have to trust in His mercy. So Lost at Sea is very much about that, because that's what helped me process grief, is like, God's in control. God's got this. Wherever He is, God's got this. And so I kind of leaned into, again, a big orchestral cinematic sound, because for me, that's my language. My language is the orchestra. And so in order to kind of talk about grief, I felt like I needed that.
Oh, the crests of waves crashing every day, anchors rusting, the anchors loose. Oh, the push and the pull of the undertow drags you further to the news. And now it's gravity's turn, and God to heal every burn. And now we reach for the stern of this ship we found, this ship we found.